and people are like, oh, I'll give you $10. I'm like, we'll do it for $10. We'll do this huge driveway for $10. I'm also a workaholic, so I don't know if I ever will stop working. I think I always want to invest. I love construction. I love real estate. So I don't think I'll ever stop doing that. It made me who I am. I truly believe that.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Excuse My Feelings. This is a podcast where we delve into the complexities of mental and emotional health, offering insight, support, and of course, personal stories. So today we are interviewing, not only is he my friend, but an amazing entrepreneur. This is Genesis Martinez.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Go ahead and tell them about yourself. Tell them basically who you are in and out of entrepreneurship.
I'm a father, most importantly. I have 3 boys, as you know. So family always first. And then business, I'm big in business, serial entrepreneur. I've started a lot of businesses. I'm heavy into real estate now and obviously the tax business. So that's pretty much it.
You make it seem so, I always love talking to you because you're so humble about your businesses. You're like, yeah, I have this one, I have that one. What made you always have that humbleness to yourself?
I don't know, I never liked flexing or anything like that. I always want to help people better themselves, and that's all I did was better myself every day. Want more for my family. And I made the necessary steps to get where I'm at. Yeah,
I think the most important thing, especially because, so I know Genesis because of my wife, and we have created, I want to say kind of like, we're not just friends anymore, we basically become family with each other. Yeah. And I have seen how both you and my wife have started from just small, I wouldn't call them small businesses, but like small ideas that you're like, okay, this could possibly get to somewhere. And now you have an amazing tax company, a tax business with you and your other friend, and then you have businesses with my wife. What made you want to start? Because people always say you can't really get into business with your friend, but you've done an incredible job with making businesses with your friends. What made you feel confident to do that?
Wouldn't say confident, right? Because a lot of people advise against it, but me and Stephanie were very like-minded, right? She wanted more, I wanted more. We would brainstorm with each other. We could talk about business
all day long.
All day, literally. I mean, she was at the house the other day. It was just all we did was talk business. So I think it's important to get yourself around like-minded individuals, because eventually those people will become your friends. Stephanie was my friend first, right? Then we got into business together, but it was because we were like-minded and because we were bouncing ideas off each other. We're like, okay, well, let's get into this business together. Yeah, I think, especially
I can only say for myself, now seeing you guys as friends, having this kinds of bonds that you guys created, I'm more lenient to go, okay, yeah, I'll have my friend on my podcast, or yeah, I'll do, content with my friend, because I feel confident in the friend group that we have created. Yes. I don't have that oh no, I'm concerned that this person might take advantage of me or might think, oh yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off of this other person. So I really do enjoy seeing what you guys have really created. And you haven't always been an entrepreneur. You used to work at a store and you had to, you did other things. When you were growing up, what made you change from that, I'm working for somebody else, to working for yourself?
So actually, I did start as an entrepreneur.
Really?
Yeah. So, can I ask my dad? You know my dad. So, as a young kid, I remember wanting to make money. And I remember one time, in the Bronx, in front of our building, I just took a bunch of random knickknacks that I had, like toys. Yeah. I asked my parents, you guys want this? I'm grabbing random stuff. Yeah, I want that, But they did give me some things, and I kind of just set up this little table, and I just wanted to make I almost did a yard sale. Yeah. But in the Bronx, we don't got a yard, so we just had a front of the building. Yeah. So I set up this little table, and I remember I want to say probably $20, $30, but I was hyped, right?
Yeah, I mean, back then,
back in the day, $1 went a long way in the candy store, right? So I want my extra little money. So I was like, okay. I kind of liked the feeling. So I was like, all right. I actually started telling my dad, take me to the dollar. So I took my profits. I went to the 99-cent store, and I bought things that I felt looked more expensive than what they were. And I bought them, and I would every week I would set up this little thing.
Are you serious?
Yes. My dad confirmed this for you, and I would just make some money here and there. And I remember the day that got me really open was I had Pokemon cards, right? And I had these Pokemon cards. I remember I had a Charizard there, not knowing what it would be worth today.
Yeah, yeah.
But I had this Charizard card, and I remember this guy offered me $50, and I was like, no, I'll keep it for 50.
Yeah.
He said, he pulled out a $100 bill, and I said, here, take it, take it.
Whatever else you want.
Yeah, and that really got me open. And then when I was 14, I learned about eBay, and I started my own sneaker store. I have an eBay store.
Damn.
If you look at my eBay name now, I don't use it anymore for that, just to buy. But I started going to the Nike clearance store. First moved to Florida, found out about the clearance store. I would buy the Nike ID shoes. I don't know if you remember those.
No.
So Nike ID is like these custom shoes where people customize them. Like you could put your name on it.
That's dope.
But some people would return them because there was an error or they didn't like them.
Yeah.
So they would throw them for sale for like $20, $30. And they were nice. And some of them didn't have people's name, but they had their name in the inside or something like that. So I would buy those and I would put them on eBay for $60, $70, and I started selling shoes. Yeah. And then, and so I wouldn't get stuck with inventory. I would put it on eBay for 30 days. And if it didn't sell, I would go back to Nike clearance store, return those, and get me new inventory and just see what worked. I remember there was some pairs of sneakers that they had like 50 pairs, and I would go and buy 10, and then I would sell all 10, and I'll just keep buying them. And I was so certain sneakers worked for me, so I had like this little successful sneaker store business.
How old are you at this point with the sneaker store?
14.
Damn.
14, 15 years old. All the way till I was 16, I kept doing it. Then I got my job, right? I was like, all right, now I ended up getting a job, getting into the workforce. And I remember getting into car sales and the guy telling me, oh, you need to be here at this time. I was working 60, 70 hours a week in the car sales business. Glad I did it because I learned sales. Yeah. But I remember telling myself, I can't answer to somebody. I can't leave when someone tells me to. So that's when I was like, I'm going to start my own business, whatever that might be. And, I started dabbling in different things and led me to where I was at. But I did start as an entrepreneur. That's
crazy because so I also know Genesis's wife. So whenever I think of you, I think of when you worked at a store. So I'm like, I didn't know the backstory. Okay, all right. So let's go back. So now let's go back to the days that you're in New York, right? Because you're a kid. Did you have? Because this is excuse my feelings. So we're gonna have to dive into some feelings here.
Okay.
What were you feeling at that time that you were starting? Like, what made you want to go? No, I want to get my money. I need to start, putting my money together. Because as a kid, for me, I didn't always think that way. But I know there's kids that were like, no, because I wanted to buy my own things. Like, what made you start putting things so people could buy them?
It first started with wanting more for myself. I remember my parents struggling to put me through middle school. It was a private school, Okay. So they were paying an expensive tuition, really good school in the Bronx. Obviously, Bronx still have good schools. Yeah. So I remember them putting me through that. And I remember one time, my computer teacher, she came up to me. She was like, oh, maybe you should shovel snow to help your parents, because I think they were behind on the tuition. Yeah. So things like that affected me.
Yeah, who is she to say something like that to you?
I knew that was wrong, but I was like, maybe I should help my family, maybe I wanted to better that. And then I'm going to that school. All these kids had new Jordans. Yeah. They had Nextels. So I remember I wanted that stuff too. I'm like, oh, I want that stuff. Yeah. I want to get a new pair of sneakers. And even though my parents did buy me, sneakers and stuff like that, these kids had every Jordan out, what I'm saying? I had 2 or 3 pairs. But I remember, my dad, would take me. I remember I wanted the Iversons. Back in that time, the Iversons were the biggest, hottest thing. Yeah, that's true. He would get me a pair of Iversons, But, these kids, they have money, living, going to private school. So seeing that, I just wanted, I wanted more. I remember wanting more, and I remember not wanting to struggle. Yeah. So just to go back to that day when that teacher said that to you, were you did you feel as a kid like you weren't doing enough? Or was it just like? I did feel bad. Yeah. I remember feeling bad, not knowing if I was doing enough or not. But that was another thing I also did as a kid. I did shovel snow. When it was winter storms, we used to go around, and it was funny because, people used to hustle us, and then some people used to bless us. Yeah. Some people oh, I'll give you $10. I'm like, I will do it for $10. We'll do this huge driveway for $10. And then there was some people who would give us $50, just through their front. They were really cool. But I remember one time I made $100, and I was like, Mom, I want to go to Pay Half. It was Pay Half was do you remember Pay Half?
No, okay. I have no idea what that is actually.
So Pay Half was a want to say like Burlington, like Ross, right? They had like last year's drops, and back in this time, Rocketwear was popping, South Pole Echo, Sean John, and I remember I wanted a velour suit, and I spent like $100.
I can't believe those are back.
Are they?
Yeah.
I do CPS too. But I remember there was a Sean John shoe. I remember the color and everything. It was gray, like a light gray, had a white, and I had a baby blue stripe going on. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be fly with this. And I spent my whole $100 on that one outfit.
Oh my God.
So yeah, definitely just wanting more and for sure wanting to help, for sure. That's what actually drove me to work at Forever 21. So we had come from New York, you know, we're living in Orlando. The Millennium Mall was right down the street. A friend of mine was like, yo, my brother is the manager there. Just talk to him and he'll get you a job there. So I was like, you know, let me get a weekly check. And I was still selling my sneakers too. I was just trying to make more money. So that's how that panned out.
Dang. Yeah. Okay, so now that we've gotten to this stage where you're here now in Florida, you're going to school, what is Genesis around late teens to 20s? What is going through his mind? Are we thinking like, how do I scale myself? Like, I've already created these businesses for myself. I already left the work field. What are we thinking? What's the next step in your mind?
Successful business, like just having something sustainable, right? The sneakers were on and off. The check obviously wasn't enough, right? Back in the day, you're talking about $10 an hour. I started getting promoted. They tried to promote me before I even turned 18. I was 17, working at Forever 21. I always looked older than what I was. They're like, oh, we're gonna promote you to assistant manager. And I was like, all right, cool. I go to sign the paperwork. They're like, hey, we checked. And you're 17? And I'm like, yeah. Like, oh, we thought you were like 18, 19. I was like, I told you guys I'm in high school. Like, and they were like, you can't get promoted. I was like, damn. But they gave me a little raise, you know, but when I saw that 50 cents and I saw that it added like $5 to my weekly check, I was like, this ain't it.
No.
This ain't it. Yeah,
especially like working in a store or any like workforce, they're always trying to push you to work more hours, trying to do everything. And then you get kind of like, I'm working my ass off, not only for somebody else, but at the same time, like for peons, basically. It's like, it's affecting me and what I'm trying to do in my life too.
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. And then, so we're now officially thinking of successful businesses. Did you have any businesses that you first started up that you're like, I thought this was gonna be something and it didn't really pan out how it was gonna be?
Yes, yeah. We were selling precious metals investments over the phone. Good business model. I actually worked for an office first and I started my own. But again, not sustainable. Yeah. Right? For me, the goal was always freedom. So I didn't want to just work for the dollar. I wanted to make sure I made enough money to where money worked for me. Right. So when I was in this business and we're getting a random 20,000 one month and then the next month maybe nothing, maybe 1,000, I was like, how do I really know where I'm at? There was nothing to really project what we were gonna make. So I wasn't a fan of that business. We got into security. Me and my dad was in security business. That was good, but again, right? I'm working overnight. Yeah. So now I'm working in the car, around this time, I'm working in the car business. I'm working 70 hours a week, and then I'm doing security on the weekends. When I tell you I didn't see Jenny and my newborn son, Christian, at the time, I didn't see them. And Sundays, I was so exhausted, all I would do was sleep till late afternoon. So I'm like, this isn't it, right? I just kept telling myself, this isn't it, right? Some people go through life, their whole life, knowing that they're not happy, they're not with their family, they don't have freedom, they can't travel, they're in debt, everything's going in reverse. But for some reason, don't change it. And I knew the definition of insanity, right, was continue doing the same thing over and expecting a different result. And that wasn't me ever. I was always like, nope, change. I didn't care to change. I didn't care to take the risk. And that was something, and I think it's a big reason why I am where I am today, was because of that. Yeah. You know?
So you not being able to see your family, like where were you mentally? Because, like I said, like with these kinds of extremes that we take ourselves to further, not only yourself, but now you have family, like where was your mental in all this place?
I felt like a zombie, but I knew not to, I worked as much as humanly possible as I could. And Jenny will attest to this, where we didn't see each other. Like I didn't see my newborn son, and it bothered me. But I knew if I stopped, they also didn't have food in their mouth. They didn't have a roof over their head. Yeah. So that was more important, right? It was like, all right, no matter what I had to do, they're gonna have a roof over their head, they're gonna have food in their mouth. And that was the most important thing at that time. I was like, I'm gonna figure something out, but I'm gonna grind in the middle of it while I'm trying to figure it out.
Who was your person that kept you, like how people say that they have a mentor is such a big thing now. In those times, was there anybody that you saw as your mentor, somebody who you looked up to?
My dad.
Yeah,
my dad. My dad was an entrepreneur. I saw him grind and hustle, and my mom too. My mom worked, her job. My mom was always a worker bee. She always went to work. She never lost a job. She was in the same job forever. But seeing my dad, busting his ass, to cover the bills. It was like, I knew that wasn't what I wanted. I knew I had to make a change.
Yeah. I think especially from we're both Hispanic. So coming up from a Hispanic household where our families come from places that don't have, I know my mom and where she was at in life, coming into the United States, struggling with my dad and being able to find someone who was able to take care of the bills and get everything done. For us as Hispanic kids, we're always like, okay, we have to follow that same example. We have to make sure that we provide for our families when we create our families. Do you feel like just knowing the aspect that where you came from, if you didn't have that hard grinder self, do you think you'd be somewhere completely different? If you didn't have that backstory?
I think about it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, it made me who I am. I truly believe that. I truly believe that, because you do see a lot of rich kids, kids that come from money. They don't have drive. They don't really understand what the struggle is.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for the struggles. I'm thankful for it all.
Yeah. It definitely, I feel like it makes us. But then I feel like now, especially, now that you are a great business, you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, you have kids now, and your kids, from how I see it, your kids don't need none. They don't have to look for nothing. They don't. I love seeing your kids. I've seen your oldest since he was little, then your middle child, and now your baby, that I see them growing up, and I'm like, no Christmas is going without them wondering what they're getting. So how are you teaching them to grind?
Good question. Because I always, like I said, I think about it all the time. What happened to me made me. So I don't want my kids to not realize that it came from hard work.
Right.
So I take my son to job sites. I just took him to a new construction house that I'm now investing in, and I explained to him, I said, Christian, while I'm sleeping, this house is being built. I could sleep all week, and tomorrow something else is gonna be done on this house. Yeah. But that's my money working for me, right? When he asked me for sneakers or clothes, even for his back to school shopping, I said, all right, you need to edge the whole house, and I need you to reorganize the garage. Yeah. I make him do things to earn the money. I'm understanding that it doesn't come free, that I bust my ass. And I think I've done a good job, because my kids are very conscious with spending, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Alex will be like, Daddy, I think this is too expensive. And
That's
I'm like,
true. I have heard him say that. Yeah.
Daddy, this is a ripoff. And I'm like, yes. It's sticking, I'm like, because I remember telling him, guys, don't waste your money on this crap. Save your money, do this, do that. Yeah. There was one guy, his name was Scott, and he was actually the owner of the car dealership that I worked at. And I remember I had a Mercedes Benz. So before I found out Jenny was pregnant with Christian, I'm working at, making my money, and I'm like, oh, $400 car note. Because my dad had given me a Camaro, a 1986 Camaro. Wow. Okay. And my mom gave me the money to fix it up. And I remember I'm in the car, I cleaned it all up. My boy put a radio, I put a little bass in it. Right? And I remember I'm driving, and I had no AC. And I remember I finally saved enough. It was $300-something. I took it to Midas. I had him fix the AC. Nice. And then I'm driving, and I remember having the AC for that day, and I was so excited. I could finally put my windows up. We're in Florida.
Oh my God, yes.
Right? So I'm driving home, and I remember the next day I turned on the car. I'm hyped, put the AC, and I'm like, it's just blowing hot. And I'm like, what happened? Something was leaking, right? Yes. So then they were like, oh, you need to change this other piece. That's another $300-something. I was so frustrated. I went to a dealership, and I was looking at a Mazda 3. I was never trying to flex or buy a fancy car at that time. And he was like, well, you can get this Mercedes. It was a little C-Class. But to me, I didn't know the classes of Mercedes.
It's just a Mercedes.
It was a Mercedes. Yeah. And when that thing had the peanut butter interior, when I sat in that, I was like, oh yeah, I had the sunroof. I was like, oh yeah. I was like, it's way better than the Mazda. I was looking at a Mazda 3. Yeah. Looking at a regular efficient car that's gonna be cheap to fix. Right. And they were like, they sold me on a Mercedes. Oh yeah, I want it. It's like $4-something a month. I got a really good deal. McCoy Federal Credit Union financed me. First time car buyer. They had a thing where they give you a good rate. And I had that car. And I remember when I worked at Motor Car Concepts, there was a 7 Series, a Beamer. It was the big BMW.
Yeah.
And this was when Rick Ross was like 745. So
I feel like that's where we always get our ideas, the customs of cars.
It really
it's like you saw it in a music video or somebody was rapping about it. You're like, I want that car. I don't know why I want that car, but I want that car.
You know, he refused to sell it to me.
Why?
The owner was like, save your fucking money, don't buy that bullshit. Damn. And I was kind of mad at him at first.
Yeah.
I freaking appreciate that every day now.
Damn. And it's crazy because you remember his name and everything.
Just Scott, he's the owner. And I remember his wife used to come and grab all the nicest cars. His brother used to grab all the nicest cars. You know what he used to drive? A Camry, an Accord, a Corolla.
Yeah,
that man was like, this gets you from point A to point B.
Right.
What? And you know what he had? He had a mansion down the street.
Of course, driving with his Corolla.
It was a 2-family house, and he did it because his family was from Turkey, and they used to come in, and the house would actually lock off into 2 houses. So at another side with a kitchen, another thing, and he said when his family leaves for 6 months, they open up the house, and the family just enjoys the whole house. But when there's a family comes from Turkey, his parents, he locks off the house, and they have a whole crib. So that's why he had it for his family.
Wow.
Really nice house, yeah.
Dang.
So to him, that was more important, right?
Yeah.
A car, you can't entertain your friends and family in a car. He wasn't trying to flex. Yeah, what are you kids? You're still getting your kids from point A to point B. It doesn't matter as long as it works.
Yeah.
And it's safe. That's all that mattered. And to him, more importantly, was a home, right? A home that not only grew in value, but was something that the kids can pass on to his kids.
Yeah.
You know, that increases in value. So that was a big lesson for me.
That's crazy it's crazy to know that those people probably have no idea that they've impacted you in such a extreme way. Like I think of when you were talking about it, I was thinking about how my mom, when she bought me my first car, it was an Acura RSX, and I'm thinking, wow, like everybody else has like their Camry, their little hoopty, you know, and I'm riding around in this cool car. But the guy, he sold it to my mom, and he was super sweet, but I didn't realize that this guy he didn't realize that he was selling it to me, and he was not selling it to my mom. So I'm driving around in this sports car, and my mom's like, you know, take care of your car, make sure you maintain it. And everybody else is like, yo, you have a sports car. What are you doing with, who bought this for you? And I'm like, it's just a car. I didn't think of it as that much, but it's crazy to know how much impact those things, like a car, and like somebody's voice telling you, hey, don't do this, do this, you know, guiding you different ways. It's so crazy to think of that now as adults, where it's just like, your kids, you only hope somebody can give that other than yourself. That's out there going to bless them and be like, hey, don't do this, try this. Or us being that sounding voice in the back of their head all the rest of their life, and they're like, no, my dad taught me not to do this, or my mom taught me not to do that. It's like, it's crazy the things that we've kind of archived to make sure that that keeps us going. With that being said, I have a question for you. Is there, because we've gone through different stages, has there been a point where you have done something and you're like, I've made it? Like, I've done something where I've hit this achievement where I'm like, wow, I've really made something of myself?
Multiple times.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so take me through each one.
Buying the first house. Our first home was huge for me because Christian and Alex Xavier, they were, you know, obviously a little older. Alex Xavier remembers everything. You know, having the dog. And when I opened up that backyard, that was what sold me, right? The backyard. When the dog was running out and my kids were running around, and there was nothing back. There was no playground, no pool like we ended up adding later. It was just plain, and they were running around. I was like, I did it.
Okay, so
I was like, I got a house. You know, like my parents never, they didn't buy a house for me growing up, right? It was between houses, apartments, etc. So having a house was like huge. It was like, okay, I did it. I was 27, and I was like,
wow, that's a good age to accomplish something like that.
Yeah, I sat back and I was like, I'm good. Like, the mortgage was affordable. I had a couple months of mortgage saved up in case anything, and I was like, got my wife, my kids, you know. I was like, we did it, you know. That's
amazing. Okay, so that's one. What was the next one?
My kids going to private school.
That's a good one.
Yeah, Christian, we tried to put Christian, Alex Xavier was not of age yet. That first year, he had to go to public school out here because the waiting list. But I was worried that he wasn't going to get there was not going to be an opening. Because they made it seem like it was very, you know. Yeah. But they give priority when you have a sibling. So once Christian got in, Alex Xavier was locked in. So when they went to the Christian academy that they go to, I was like, okay, my kids are in private school and and it's affordable. Like I can handle it. And I was like, they're good. You know, they got clothes, they got their own rooms. Right, that was another huge thing. I grew up not ever having my own room.
Yeah.
Each of my boys always had their own room.
Yeah.
Spoiled brats.
Oh my God.
But that was big for me. For them going to private school.
Yeah.
And then the next one was Jenny was working for JetBlue at home. She was like trading her shifts all the time. I felt like she was working more on trading shifts than she actually did working.
Bro, it was like hours. I would watch her and I'm like, you could have been to your shift by now, bro.
She was trading 1 hour shifts, 2 hours. I'm like, how is this even possible? And then our weekends were ruined. At one point I was like, can I just work it for you? And just train me quick. And I was like, give me the money. And then she's like, I don't know, but the JetBlue, you know, I was like enjoying the flights. But I remember she was pregnant with Chuchi, and she was frustrated one day, and our weekend was like ruined because she had traded so many random shifts that she had like a 2 o'clock, a 6 o'clock, 2 hour shift. I was like, we can't do nothing on a Saturday?
No.
I was like, quit. She's like, for real? I was like, quit. I was like, I got it, we're good. Like, I can afford you, like, I can retire. And I've been thinking about that for a while. It was on my mind, but you always have that worry, right? That fear, like, if something happens.
You have a stable check that's
we
coming
have
in.
Someone, making this. But I was like, nah, we're good. We're good. Just quit. Yeah. And she quit. She quit that day. She had Chuchi, and Jenny's been retired ever since. And Chuchi's about to turn 5, so it's been 5 years. Jenny hasn't had to work.
I remember the day, because she retired that week, and I think we saw each other the next week, and she's like, I don't have to work anymore. I get to, you know, she was pregnant, and it was like her glow was even more. She was like, my man, he retired me, and I was like, damn, like, it's crazy that certain things like those where it's just like, you see your wife and you see the transformation of somebody who you're like, I was able to do that for you. And it's even better when it's your wife that you're able to be like, listen, you're taken care of. It's, even though it's like kind of like a hurrah for you, not kind of, it is a hurrah. For her, it's like he did this for me. He cared enough about me, for our children, for my well-being to be able to do that. Even though in that moment you're probably like, it's so stupid, it's because we can't really do anything this weekend, but it's like, damn, people can't do that. You know, there's people who their partners still go to work. Like my mom still works, but she's a whole different case. But the day that I can retire her, that my wife and I can retire her, it's going to be like, wow, like she doesn't have to work for anything. Is that something that your next goal would be, to retire like a family member?
Yes, yeah, for sure. They're all capable to work. So I'm also a workaholic. So I don't know if I ever will stop working. I think I always want to invest. I love construction. I love real estate. So I don't think I'll ever stop doing that. But like the normal 9 to 5, having to wake up and clock in and do all that like I do with the loans, like that's going to be a thing of the past. Yeah. You know?
Also, one of the biggest thing too in being a workaholic, and I get this from my wife as well, and I didn't understand it until working for myself. Do you feel like, since you are a workaholic, that kind of delves into your relationship? Do you feel like you were saying at that one point where you were working so much that you didn't see your family, you didn't see your kids, do you, now that you are an entrepreneur, do you see yourself where, because nobody's telling you when to stop and when to go, are you ever at the point where you're like, I think I work too much, or wow, I haven't seen these people in like however many days, you know? Do you have that? Does it affect your relationship outside of your work, you know, like your wife, your kids?
No, it did. It did when I would go to the office. When we first started the tax business, as you know, that thing's from bell to bell. So, you know, 4 months out of the year, I was in the office grinding, but I knew I was building something. And, you know, she would get frustrated. And so what I did every tax season was I kind of pulled back a little bit. The first 2 years, it was, I'm over there at 9 a.m. I'm not back home till midnight.
Bro.
I mean, Jean was like literally my second wife. Like we were having dinner together, lunch together,
breakfast,
talking all day together. We're marketing, working together. So that was affecting it, and I noticed. And so what I did the following year was like, all right, I'm gonna. The third year we were doing it, I was like, I'm gonna leave the office at like, you know, 7, 8 o'clock. That's when we were closed. I'm like, at close, I'm leaving. I'm not gonna stay longer. I'll handle whatever workload that's left over the following day. And then the following year, we hired an assistant. We hired an assistant at the office. We hired a virtual assistant to handle some contractual stuff. And then we started slowly not doing tax clients as much. Like Jenny handles some of my tax clients. Nicole, she does a couple of my tax clients. So I really don't do tax clients. And now we're completely virtual. Right? So we unless we're getting together for a training or we're getting together on a Zoom, I'm at home. Yeah. When I'm doing my loans, I'm at home. All my meetings I do via Zoom. Yeah. The only time I'll meet with someone wants to meet face to face to do an initial introduction. Some people old school, they want to meet you face to face. But other than that, I'm at home. Yeah. All day, every day. That's my office is in the house. Yeah. I got my computer set up. So there's really no reason for me to clock in anywhere, go to an office for a certain amount of hours of the day. Yeah. Yeah, I get to close my office door and work at home. I get out, my kids are there. I have lunch with them. I'll cook them some breakfast. I'll give them a snack. I'll go and sit with Chuchi watching some crazy YouTube videos for a couple of minutes. So I'm there. My presence is there, and that's very important to me. So taxes and real estate have given me that freedom to do that. Yeah,
that's one, is crazy to know that you took it upon yourself to really step back in the equation versus going, they'll be there. You know, like a lot of people I've seen some entrepreneurs are like, it's fine. They know what I'm doing this for. They know that it's for them. And I love it because on your page too, on your Instagram, you put up your why, and it's your family. And just understanding that you always keep them in the perspective with everything is just so, another reason why I feel like you're so humble when you come to talk about your business and where you are in life. So now that we have gone through family, you as a family man, you as an entrepreneur, who is Genesis with all that taken away? Like, who are you? We're not talking about business. We're not talking about, being a great dad. Who are you to, like, if you were to meet somebody and they're like, just tell me who you are?
Nobody.
No, is that true?
My family and my business, what I do for my family, trying to, be there for everybody in my family, that's who I am. Let me not say that.
No, I was gonna say you have other qualities, like you're funny, you like to watch sports,
yes.
You like MMA. I'm trying to think of other things. Let's see. You like to work out. Like when you're, I wouldn't say on a date, but like when you meet someone, like.
Yeah, don't say that, Jenny.
Yeah, I know. Jenny would kill me. But I think whenever I think, because especially
my hobbies, like what I like. Okay,
exactly.
Yeah. Sports. Always been sports. My son kind of got me back into it because I kind of was like a business fanatic. Like anything I could do to better develop my business, I was obsessed with. Right? Even books. Like I don't read books for entertainment. Me and Jenny do have our shows that we like to watch for entertainment, but I kind of keep that at a limit. Yeah. But so I kind of stopped watching sports. But Christian being back into, being into basketball and stuff like that, it was something that me and him could bond with. Doing jiu-jitsu together with him was a bonding thing with me and him. And then my kids going into sports, right? Alex Xavier started football. Yeah. Chuchi wants to do baseball. I played all those sports growing up. My dad was into that heavy. He was my brother's coach. He helped me. He coached me into sports. So, but I'm going back into my kids, right? Yeah.
Right.
I like boxing. I like MMA. I trained jiu-jitsu for a while, Muay Thai for a while. I've been out of the gym for a while though. I got to get back into it as far as training jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. I told Jenny I want to make a decision, conscious decision to go back soon. Chuchi, I want him to start wrestling. I wanted him to start wrestling last year, but they said 5 years old, so he's gonna get back into. Once he gets into wrestling, I know I'm gonna get that itch again.
Yeah. Especially with him, he's so hyper. He's so and he likes the, what are you gonna do about it? That's his. I feel like his favorite line. I don't know if it's changed, but I'm like, you are just so. I know that he wants to do active things. I feel like out of all your kids, that's the most active one. That's like just ready to run laps around you.
So I got to keep up with him. So when he comes to jiu-jitsu, I got to make sure I can take him on. He's gonna be wrestling. So again, back to my kids, but. Self-improvement in all aspects, right? and I kind of let my health go a little bit, not training, not working out, not being into martial arts anymore. So I got to get back into that. But it's always being aware of those things, right? And making conscious decisions to get that back into the motions.
So since you are always on go, and like you were saying, like you don't really read for fun, you read for like development, everything is about development for yourself, for your businesses. What do you do for yourself? Like, we define it as like self-care. What do you do for yourself and for your own mental health? Because there has to be something for you to be able to unplug.
Boating. I like boating. I recently found out I like hiking. When we went to hiking in Arizona, I really enjoyed that. Maybe I liked hiking in Arizona, and maybe I'm not gonna like it here. I don't know. But I just bought the whole.
There's far more bugs here.
Yeah, we bought a bunch of hiking boots. I bought all of us hiking boots. So we're gonna see. We're gonna go on some trails. Jenny's looking. I love traveling. That's another important thing for me. Is not only me and Jenny, because at first that's what it was. Right? It was me and Jenny visiting the world and exploring these things. But I don't want my kids. You know, you grow up in these cities and you think this is all it has to offer, and I don't want them to be limited to that. So I took them to Mexico, took them to Arizona. They've been to New York, they've been to Puerto Rico. I'm taking them to Japan in like the next month or so, depending on Teresita, she's pregnant. The doggy's pregnant. But we're gonna go to Japan. I want to take them to Italy next year. Go on a little tour through Italy. I loved Italy, so I want to take them there, and just expanding their minds as much as possible, teaching them everything that I've learned and expanding their minds.
I love that. So you have 3 boys. So each of one of them, I know that you have a separate relationship. Walk me through your kids' relationship. So you have Christian, you have Alexavier, and you have Chuchi. Azai is his actual name, guys. His nickname is Chuchi. But so what is your relationship like with Christian, since he is your oldest?
Christian, I'm hard on him. He's my oldest. I want him to make sure I always make it a point that, you know, me and Jenny won't be around forever, and I want him to look out for his brothers. As the oldest, you always get that burden on your shoulders. I had it on me, so I am passing it to him. Whether it's unfair or not, I don't know, because you're the oldest, right? You're supposed to know the most. You're supposed to help your siblings, and I want him to understand that, to help people around you is important, Yeah. Take care of your family, take care of your brothers, look out for each other. That's my biggest fear, because when I'm gone, I can't look out for them. So I want to make sure they got each other's back, and I always tell them that. Obviously, they're all going to play the little annoying brother role to each other and bother each other, and they're years apart. So that's my relationship with Christian. Is I'm trying to get him ready for the world and understand that life is not easy. Yeah, you got to give him that harsh reality. It's been easy for you. Me and Jenny struggled when Christian couldn't remember. And thank God he couldn't remember those years, because they were hard when he was first born. But we figured it out and we got through it, and he lived a different life. But that's my relationship with him, is getting him ready for the real world. Yeah. Yeah. No,
those are things that I feel like, because the world has been changing so much, you have to kind of prepare kids, because right now they just see what's on TikTok, on Instagram, and everyone's showing off their success versus seeing, like, people really don't put the groundwork on Instagram, because it's not pretty. It's not like, oh, look at me, this video only did so well, or this house, I'm starting it up, it looks like trash, this is the ground that, eventually look like this stature. Like, you built a home for your family, which we'll get into later, but those things where people just see, this is the amazing home that Genesis built, or, this is the car that he's currently driving. It's like, yes, that all looks great, but it's like, you have no idea the stressful nights that you went through, the times where you thought, I think I might be in too deep, or, the moments where you're like, am I just trying to do too much, Yeah. So people don't see that. So I really like the fact that you are teaching your oldest, like, it's not all cute, because it really isn't. It's like a lot of grinding to get to where you are now. Yeah. So Alexavier, what's your relationship with him?
Man, I spoiled that kid. Love that kid, man. He's a sweetheart, heart of gold, very helpful, very family oriented. I mean, he calls family members more than I do. He makes a conscious decision to call his aunts, his uncle, his grandfather, grandparents. He'll text him, I miss you. I was random. Like the other night, he was punished because he was on his phone and he was supposed to be in bed. I took it away from him. I saw messages coming in. Him and his friends talk all the time. I saw him just texting my sister, oh, I love you. Aww. I miss you, sending pictures of himself. Him and my dad, like, having conversations about Godzilla, So he's a sweetheart, man. Super kind, very emotional. So I worry about that. I want him to understand that, again, the world is not always pretty. People are going to try to pick on you. So that's one thing I worry about him, but I'm going to put him in jiu-jitsu, get his confidence up. He's a fairly confident kid. But yeah, I love that kid, man. He's my baby still.
Yeah, I always love it whenever because he loves to comment on our Stephsquared stuff. Yeah. So he'll be like, Steph, I commented. It literally is the comment. Steph, I'm commenting. And I'm like, oh my God, I know it's you. So I always love it. And every time he sees this, he's like, oh, I saw that you guys posted this video. Yeah. Like if we do a sour challenge, any kind of challenge, that man is watching our videos. And then
one day I came to the house and he's watching it. I'm like, how did you find him? He said, oh, I know their channel. So he he found out your name, he looked it up, he's watching your stuff, and then now your stuff pops up on his feed, and he watches it. Yeah. I actually I just was with him, and I told him, I'm going to Stephanie, me and Stephanie are going to do a podcast, and he's like, oh, where can I watch it?
Oh my God,
I was
same
like,
place.
Stephsquared. Yeah. I was like, Stephsquared.
No,
he's like, I already follow. I was like, all right, you'll see it then.
No, it's funny because I remember when I think he told you, he was like, oh, I saw that you guys were out on a party, and it's because he had watched one of our vlogs. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, he's like keeping tabs on us.
I know. He's in the one that we're posting today, so it's because it's from your birthday, and he's in the video, so I know he's gonna be like, that's me.
Yeah. He loves that stuff.
He's so cute. Yeah, okay, stuff. And then the baby, the one that I feel like is not even, he's not driving you nuts. What's the word that I'm looking for? He is going to be the one that keeps you always on your toes.
He already does. Kid's crazy, man. Kids have personalities, and that kid's personality is huge. I don't know where Chuchi's gonna be in life. He's 4 years old, but
going on 20. He is so fast.
He thinks he's a teenager.
He is.
He locks his door. I unlock it. Got the little lever. Well, how'd you get in here? I locked my door. It's like, bro, you're 4. It's like, you need anything to eat? No, he said, I already got something. He goes in his little, the second fridge, little compartment, and he just grabs cheese, applesauce. The only time he'll call me is like if he wants a cheese sandwich. He's obsessed with cheese.
Yeah.
Kids
man
hilarious,
after my own heart.
Yeah. goes into a restroom on his own. Doesn't really bother us. So it's weird. It's different, right? Because Christian and Alex were always with us, and he kind of it's like all 3 of them are on their own now. It's like, what's going on? Yeah. But the kid's funny, man. I think that kid could do whatever he wants in life. He's resilient. We went hiking. And I remember my feet hurting. And I was like, Chuchi, I'm going to pick you up. No, Daddy, I got it. And he's just hiking along. He almost slipped on the rock. He said, Dad, I'm okay. I'm like, I love that kid, man.
Yeah.
He's ready for the world, I feel like. He's going to be good. He's going to be good.
Out of all your kids, which one do you feel like is most like you?
Alex reminds me a lot of me when I was his age. I was like that. All about family, emotional. I guess the cancer in me.
You're a Cancer?
Chuchi,
oh, that makes sense. Yes, yeah.
And Chuchi's like me now. Straight thug.
Yeah. And then Christian is all about business. Like, whenever I talk to him, he's like, yeah, I'm going to go do this with my dad. And because I remember one time whenever I see him, I'll show him our TikTok, and I just showed him recently that we got 5 million views on our video, and he goes, yo, that's awesome, because I know that at one point he wanted to do video games. Yeah. And I'm like, you can do it. Just put your camera up and do it, and then show your dad.
I regret it, man, with him. Yeah. Because Christian also had a very big personality. He still does. He's still fly, but he's in that teenage years where he's too cool to show it off. Yeah. When he was younger, he was a performer. He used to dance. He was obsessed with Bruno Mars. He used to do all the dancing and stuff. Everybody in the party used to be watching him, and he used to love the attention. And he wanted to do the video game stuff, but me and Jenny were reluctant because, all the child celebrity kids. Yeah. They go through issues, and these kids read comments, and then they hurt themselves. Yeah. So me and Jenny didn't want him exposed to that, but. Christian, me and Jenny always messing with him, and he probably would have been fine. Yeah. But as young parents, we made a decision to be like, no, we're gonna keep you away from that. but he probably would have been killing it on YouTube. Yeah. His little fly self, he would have been killing it on there.
No, he definitely would. And he had the grooves. He knew all the lyrics to all the Bruno Mars songs. Yeah. I still to this day, whenever we go over for like Thanksgiving or like for Christmas, Jenny, she'll put it on, and he'll even though he's on his phone, he's like bopping. I'm like, I knew you liked it.
It's in him, man. He just don't like to show it anymore. He was he wasn't shy when he was younger. I wouldn't say he's shy now either, but he's just acting like he's too cool for it. You know how it is, teenage years.
Yeah. So we have your kids, and tell me a little bit about your relationship with your wife. Obviously, she's the mother of your kids. She always is so supportive with you, all your ideas, all the businesses that you bring to her. What is one thing that in your relationship now with Jenny that you're like, I couldn't have done this without you? Like, what is that like, or multiple things, or whatever it is?
Everything. Jenny held it down at the house, no matter what. When I was working all that time, she had to work too, and she still tried to cook, clean, do everything that a wife is supposed to do, and that's why I was glad to retire her. Get her the car she wanted. That was another big milestone for me, was buying her a car, and the one she wanted, because we were struggling with one car for a little bit. But yeah, man, everything. Jenny's there with her for our boys. She's the mother figure, right? Because I'm the father. I always take on that father figure. Like, I gotta be hard on my boys and make sure they know I'm the rock here, and like there's no messing around over here. But she's the emotional. She nurtures them. She holds down the house, man, and that's why I tell everybody, like, I couldn't successfully do that stuff if I was trying to figure out where my kids were, picking them up from daycare and worrying about who's watching my kids and all that stuff. I couldn't do that without her, But when we first had Christian, we both had jobs, and thank God my dad, he was doing security and he was doing well with that, and he would watch Christian. He was a big part of raising Christian those first 5 years.
I feel like you guys have always had a great village around you to be able to help you.
Yes, yeah. Me and Jenny, we traveled. It was times where I had good months in the business. Me and Jenny always traveled. I always made it a point to travel. I always liked doing it. So me and Jenny, even though we're like cheap little cruises to the Bahamas.
I mean, it's a vacation.
Yeah. Mexico is super cheap. You get away with a 4-night stay for like $1,200. So we do these little cheap. My threshold was like $50. I'm not spending more than that. Because I was always big on saving. I wanted to save to invest. So we went on these little trips, but we always did. But that was because we had someone watching Christian, taking care of him. So my dad was always big with that. And he wouldn't even, my dad's so hilarious, he wouldn't even call us. Like flying, he knows when we're flying back, he won't call us. He won't be like, oh, when you guys landing, when you picking them up?
Nothing.
He would hope that we weren't gonna, not that we, probably, deep down. But, oh, you guys picking them up? Can he stay another night? I'm like, Dad, I haven't seen my son for a week and I'm sick to my stomach. I want to be with him. Oh, yeah, okay, you're right.
You can have him, I guess.
It was the funniest thing. So when me and Jenny would be like, oh, we took a night out, we hung out. Well, Dad, can you watch him for the night? Oh, yeah, no problem. Yeah, as long as you want. Oh, you picking him up? I'm like, Dad, come on, man. Yes.
My God.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that you guys definitely, especially because you had Christian. How old were you when you had Christian?
19.
19.
Yeah.
So you had a kid when you were 19. So the fact that you were able to lean on your father and be like, hey, can you help me with my child, and be able to continue to go, okay, I'm not out here playing around. I'm out here trying to make money for my kids.
Yes.
I think that's so great because not everyone has a village. Like, I know people who they don't have a village. They have maybe their parents and maybe like one friend that could probably help keep everything together. But you don't realize how much you need a village when you actually bring a kid into this world.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. We were young parents. We were still growing up. We didn't know what we were doing in our careers. We didn't know anything. So to have someone just watch your kid is such a huge blessing.
Yeah.
Huge blessing.
Yeah.
And not only watch him, but like take good care of him and know you didn't feel no guiltiness. Right. You didn't feel like your kid wasn't eating. My son was always happy over there, overeating, if anything. My dad's notorious for that. But he was good, and he had toys, and he had his own room. So he was good with him. So
That's good.
Yeah.
I love that. I love your relationship, with your family. Obviously, I love your relationship with your wife and your kids. What is your next big goal? Because I know we have the house now. Like we were just talking the other day. We're like, okay, we have the house now. You guys renewed your vows, which was a goal for Jenny.
Yeah.
I know that you had been talking about Japan, so that's another goal I know that you're about to accomplish. But after Japan, after that chapter, what's your next big goal?
My next goal is a continuous one, is just growing my net worth and growing what I'm gonna pass down to my kids and my family. Because now it's not just about my sons, I'm thinking about my nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
I wanna pass down at least a house to them too. All my kids, they're gonna have multiple houses. So passing down generational wealth. I'm already where I kinda wanna be with freedom. I'm working really when I want to. I have assistants on both operating my businesses, so that was one of my main goals, but it's coming to fruition now. And then also helping other people level up.
Yeah.
I'm noticing that I want to help the next generation, not just my son, but other young entrepreneurs that want the same thing. Give them a pathway to success, teach them, mentor them, and grow them. And teach them. So. That's something I think I'm passionate about. Like I'm starting to learn that about myself. Like people contact me, and I just had a young kid contact me. He wants to build new construction. I was like, man, just call me whenever. Text me. I was like, 10 o'clock is my cutoff. I was like, it used to be midnight, but my wife gets mad at me. So 10 o'clock, man, I'll text you the next day. But, I said, any questions you have, I'll help you get the funding. If you need any, a lot of my clients, they need help with a certain tradesman, like an AC guy, a roofer. I'll send them contacts. So just helping people, grow themselves and realize success and realize the freedom that real estate gives you,
Yeah. I feel like since the moment I met you, you've always been the type of person that's helped people, that always been like, no, like, if somebody needs your help or somebody calls you, like, I've known multiple times. First of all, fun fact, Genesis helped us find our home because when we were trying to buy a house, it was 2020, and it wasn't difficult, but it wasn't easy to come across finding a house. Yep. The people didn't even want to talk to us. They didn't want to talk to you. They didn't want to talk to Gene. So we stayed in-house with our help. So we had Genesis help us. We had our other friend, Gene. So that, first of all, that was a great amount of help. But you never, I can only say this in Spanish, pero nunca refunfuñaste. Like, you were never like, no, guys, I'm not available. You were always available to help with that. Then when we moved into our house, Genesis was like, all right, guys, so we're going to go to Home Depot. And we're like, Home Depot? Why are we going to Home Depot? You got to change the locks. Oh my God, we have to change the locks. Okay, so we got to change the locks. Steph and I were just talking about this. I was coming home from a girls' night, and it was funny because Steph was like, take my car to the girls' night. And I'm like, all right, sure. The tire blows, and she's like, well, like, what am I going to do? So she calls Genesis. Genesis, I think you were half asleep or something, and you're like, okay, yeah, I'll help. I'm like, this man never, again, I don't even know how to say this in English, but no refunfuñas, you never have a problem with helping people.
No, man.
Do you feel like, who was it that, like, gave that to you? Because that's very hard to come across where people are very selfless,
Yeah.
So who gave that to you? Like, who put that for you to
Honestly,
be able to do?
both my parents are both very selfless people. They look out for people. My grandmother, she was always the rock of the family. She always helped everybody. My grandfather too, Sammy, he would help everybody in the neighborhood. He would fix cars for free. My grandmother would get mad at him, like, why are you just random people? Yeah. Grandma's more about the family, But she's always looking out. We lived with them a couple times because my grandmother actually had real estate. So she owned a 3-family house in the Bronx. It was in a bad neighborhood, but she had an apartment downstairs, an apartment upstairs. She had a tenant upstairs, and she lived in the middle. And we lived downstairs for a couple of months. And always trying to help people, always looking out. She watched us growing up. So Sammy was always a good figure as well because he's always worked hard. He was a mechanic, and barely knew how to read and write. Oh, wow. And he was successful. He owns his own house in Miami. He always had a nice car. He's the reason why I like the Yukons and the big SUVs, because my dad was always into sports cars. My mom had a little Trailblazer, but my grandfather always had a big Yukon, always a big Tahoe, and I love those cars. I used to remember sitting in, oh, this is like comfortable, you know? So that's why I always have those cars now. It's because of him, so.
I really thought it was because you're tall. I'm like, that makes sense. This man is like 7 feet tall, he needs a large car, but that makes sense.
No. Yeah, so just the comfortability of it. But yeah, a lot of selfless people in my family. I have a lot of good examples.
That's amazing.
A lot of good examples.
What would you tell young Genesis if you were able to go back and tell yourself anything? What would it be?
Business-wise?
We'll start there and then you can keep going.
Invest in real estate as soon as possible. buy.
You know, like, have you ever seen people who write notes for like their future self? It's like, first one, invest in real estate. They're probably young Genesis, like 6-year-old Genesis, is like, what does this even mean? Okay.
You see those memes, right? Like, I wish I was buying up real estate, but I was in middle school. That's me. I'm like, I wish I was buying up real estate.
With your first $30, you're like, invest in real estate.
Yeah.
Got it.
Secondly is, you're built for this. Like, you got it. Like, you know, there's been a lot of times as an entrepreneur, it's fearful, right? You're taking that leap of faith. And I've gotten more confident as the years gone by, but I've been fearful, you know, losing it all, taking the wrong step, putting my family in a bad position. So I always educate myself, always try to make educated decisions. But just be fearless. Just be fearless. You know, those fearless nights, that stress was for no reason. It was for no reason because I always had the work ethic. I was always willing to put in the work. So there was no reason to stress.
Yeah.
I was gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
And we all do.
That's true.
I think they came out with a study and they said like 80% of the things we worry about don't even happen.
Right. I think that study was probably attached to anxiety. It was like, whatever you have said to yourself all these times, like, what was it? Will Smith, when he went skydiving, he said that he was like bracing himself. He was so nervous. He was like, oh my God, like this is gonna be so intense. He was like, honestly, the amount of time that I was so anxious was much longer, much excruciating than the whole skydiving.
Skydiving, right.
And I'm like, I'm not going skydiving, but I understand that, like, for example, like me putting out this podcast, I'm stressing. Like this whole week I've been stressing. My whole face is broken out. And I'm like, I'm so stressed. But in my mind, I'm like, you're just putting out a podcast. It's like, you're not going skydiving. But these are the things that, especially us, again, as being kids that had, I want to say basically had nothing. Because I know, like, my dad was sick from when I was young. So not having anything, always having to do something for our parents. And for me, I'm like, everything must be at least either perfect or damn near. So whenever I put something out or whenever I am doing something, I'm like, no, it has to be amazing across the board because then I feel like I haven't done enough. Right. So I always think about those things. I'm like, I gotta do something so that when I do produce this, it's not just why I did it, you know? Right. When you made your house, so like going to, I want to make sure that I hit key topics. We have in the stage that we're in now as adults in current day, you have an amazing house that you created from nothing. What made you think in that moment, okay, I can handle this? Because that, so just to explain, not everyone, one, is able to do that, and two, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of fucking work to be able to go, I have the funds, I know that you're capable mentally, but it's like, you're putting a lot of trust in dirt, basically. Like, can you give me, like, what were you thinking?
The end result. The end result is what drove me through it. I knew I could build this house for X amount of dollars. I knew the amount of equity I would have in it. And if anything was, another thing that I obsess about, which I shouldn't, but is always if something happens to me, I'm always worried about the kids and Jenny. So I have like multiple life insurance policies. I have a mortgage insurance policy. So in case something happens to me, that gets paid off. You know, they get X amount of money.
I didn't know they had that. Thank you.
They do. They do. So I always obsess over that. So it's always like, all right, well, how can I catapult and get us to another level? The house, you know, I love it, right? Because entertaining, you know, we can have get-togethers, friends miss, things like that, Christmas. Well, you know, I've always been hosting, even at the other house, you know? But now I remember feeling cramped in that house, and I was like, I need an entertainment space house. So it was from my family, man, and that's what drives me every day. It was really them, thinking about my kids having all that space, being able to run around. Got 5 acres, I thought about my dog at the time, Colossus. He didn't get to make it, unfortunately, but that's it. That's pretty much it. It was a power play to reposition my family to get us to another level. They always tell you, right, you're one decision away from changing your life.
Yes.
So I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna get it done. There was a lot of twists and turns in building that house, but it's done. We moved in. I refinanced it, and I felt like a weight off my shoulders.
Yeah. Especially because, so seeing you in the house that I met, because you guys were in that house when I met you, and to see the house now, especially, I love the fact that because we always tell you, or we tell each other, hey, whenever you need our help, just text us or whatever. Genesis texted us the day that he was moving into his house, and let me tell you something. First, I'm so glad that I chose to organize that kitchen because poor Steph, she was putting down grass. And first of all, this man has 5 acres. So she didn't put down 5 acres of grass, but she put down enough grass. So one, it was beautiful to see your dream come true because we knew from the beginning when you took on this project. 2, we are now sitting in this gorgeous house and going, not this video, guys, just so you know, this is my house. But we're sitting in this gorgeous house at midnight after you got us Taco Bell, and we're sitting there and we're like,
forgot about that.
We're like, you did this shit, bro. You're in here and you're like, and it's crazy because I feel like every time that either one of us has succeeded, we always invite the other person or our friends to come in, and we're all like, you never feel the air of, oh, this person's jealous, or this person is not happy for me. But in these moments that we've all shared, from Chuchi being bored, any of your kids being bored, well, I wasn't there, but I know Steph was there for a majority of your kids, and then seeing you have a house, and we're like, motherfucker, this is dope. This is we're so happy for each other, and it's so amazing to see not only where you are, but our other friends, and being able to share those moments is you have no idea how amazing, especially for me who came into this friend circle not knowing what real friends are, to looking at us now, and I'm like, this is fucking dope. This is really cool. This is what friends / family are really, for. Yes. So I absolutely love to end my podcast with words of inspiration, words of positivity. Do you have anything, maybe something that you say to yourself currently, or something that you saw that you could tell us?
Kind of like what I just said. Be fearless, and bet on yourself.
Yeah. I think that's going to be the title of this podcast, Being Fearless and Bet on Yourself.
Yeah. No,
definitely. Well, I want to say, 1, thank you so much for trusting me to be on my podcast, and 2, for being an amazing friend, and 3, for giving me an amazing best friend, which is Jenny. So I do appreciate that. But we are going to end it here. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast episode. Obviously, you can hear it audio-wise on any of the platforms, and I hope, like I said, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video with lots of love and lots of heart.